When I was 15 and still in high school, my stepdad took my mom and his kids on a vacation without even telling me. They just left, and I ended up staying home alone. So I packed up and went to stay with my dad, and that's when everything started going downhill. Let me back up a bit. My name's not important, but I'm a regular 17-year-old guy, still grinding through high school. My mom married this guy Rick 1 year ago. She's 38, and he's 40. For the record, my biological parents never tied the knot. I was actually born because of a short fling my parents had right after college. They figured it would fizzle out in a few months, but then, boom, my mom found out she was pregnant. She didn't want to get rid of it, so she decided to keep me. My dad wanted to be part of my life too, so they agreed on shared custody. I switch homes every month, spending 1 month with my dad, then 1 with my mom, pretty much split right down the middle. I've always loved both my parents, and I know they've both sacrificed a lot so I could have them in my life. The biggest thing? They both stayed in the same city for years, just so I wouldn't have to deal with a complicated back and forth. I only found that out later on, but apparently, they both passed on some serious career opportunities just so they could stick around and live nearby. All for me? My mom, I've learned, even turned down several guys who were absolutely crazy about her. She told me she did that because she wanted to focus on raising me, instead of juggling a husband, a demanding job, and everything else that comes with marriage. I only know all this now because of Rick, oddly enough. He's not exactly winning any awards for Stepdad of the Year. My mom had to explain all this to me in hopes that I'd be more accepting of Rick. Her logic was that if she could give up so much for me, then I could at least give the guy a shot. I never really bought into that reasoning though. I mean, I didn't ask her to make all those sacrifices. She could have made a different choice, ended the pregnancy, or let my dad raise me on his own. But I never brought that up with her because I love her and all I've ever wanted is for her to be happy. So I gave Rick a chance even though he didn't exactly make it easy. Now don't get me wrong, he's not outwardly mean or rude to me. He just straight up doesn't like me and he doesn't hide it. I mean, come on, what kind of 40-year-old has beef with a 17-year-old kid? But that's how it is. I really don't know what I did to rub him the wrong way. I've always tried to be respectful and polite. That's just how I was raised. Be kind, even to people who make it clear they don't like you. And Rick? He never insults me, never yells, never makes snide comments. Because he doesn't say anything at all. It's like I don't even exist to him. And this has been going on for 3 whole years. One day he was talking to me like a normal person, asking about school and stuff, and then he just stopped. Decided I didn't exist anymore. It's the weirdest thing. I'd walk into a room and he'd turn away like I was a ghost or something. At first, I thought maybe he just forgot to say hello or got distracted. But when it kept happening over and over, I finally asked my mom if I had done something to offend him. She didn't really explain much, just told me that Rick was still adjusting to the idea of me being around. That maybe it was hard for him because he wasn't used to dating someone with a kid. But here's the kicker, Rick has kids. 2 sons actually. One's 15 and the other's 13. Their mom passed away not long after the younger one was born. Also, I wasn't even going to be around all the time. Like I said before, I split time between my parents' homes. I only lived with my mom for a month at a time. So that excuse never really added up. Still, I let it go. A few months passed and I just learned to deal with it. Rick and I didn't talk. I gave up trying. After a year of dating my mom, he proposed and they got married a few months later. Once they were married, Rick moved into our house, bringing his 2 kids with him. I'd only met his boys once or twice before that, and even then it was obvious Rick had told them not to interact with me. It was just bizarre. And honestly, I don't even know how I made it through those years. Before the wedding, Rick had been living elsewhere because his mom was really sick. She stayed with him, and he looked after her. After he married my mom, though, he moved his mom in with his sister so she could care for her, and Rick brought his kids to live with us. I don't know if anyone else has ever dealt with something like this, but living in a house with people who pretend you don't exist? It's rough. I felt like some kind of criminal based on how they acted around me. And the worst part? I never even figured out what I did to deserve it. To this day, I still have no clue. But at least I don't live there anymore. Years went by, and nothing changed. Sure, I got used to the cold shoulder, but it didn't make it any less painful. Before the marriage, I had already gotten used to Rick ignoring me during his visits. After the wedding, it just became part of the routine. I'd show up at my mom's house and I'd have to brace myself for 3 weeks of only talking to her. She was the only one in that house who acknowledged me. Everyone else acted like I was invisible. It hurt. A lot. But I still wanted to spend time with my mom, so I kept putting up with it. Deep down, though, I knew she was never going to confront Rick about the way he treated me. Believe me, I'd begged her, more times than I can count, to talk to him, to get to the bottom of why he acted like I didn't exist. Every time, she told me the same thing. She had already spoken to him. Apparently, there were some personal reasons she couldn't explain to me, and that's why he chose to pretend I wasn't there. She told me she understood where he was coming from, but she also understood why it hurt me. And still, her answer was always the same. I just had to deal with it. If I pushed back or tried to stand up for myself, she'd get emotional and throw the "I sacrificed so much for you" card in my face. She'd say things like, "I gave up so much for you, can't you do this one thing for me?" As if putting up with a grown man's silent treatment was some kind of fair trade. I wanted to yell, to argue, to let her know how wrong that was. But I didn't want to hurt her, so I kept it all in. I never even told my dad what was going on. I knew if he found out he'd lose it, and not just at Rick, but at my mom too. My parents are very different people. They've always clashed over how to raise me, always had little fights here and there. But if my dad found out how Rick was treating me and how my mom just let it happen, I honestly think he might have gone straight to court and filed for full custody. I didn't want to cause a mess. So I kept my mouth shut, acted like everything was fine at my mom's house, even though it absolutely wasn't. Rick and my mom had been together for a year before they got married, and they'd been living together for 2 more years since then. That meant I'd been living in this weird, cold silence for 3 years. And by now I was at my breaking point. The thing that finally pushed me over the edge happened just last month. I was scheduled to spend the month with my mom, like usual. And of course, Rick and his kids were still ignoring me like always. On top of that, I was going through a rough time, got into fights with a couple of my friends at school, and my mood was already in the gutter. Then about 3 weeks in, I woke up one morning and the house was completely empty. Silent. Nobody home. At first, I thought maybe they just stepped out for errands or something. The night before, everything seemed normal as it ever got in that house. They were chatting and hanging out, same as always, acting like I wasn't there. But no one said a word about going on a trip. So I called my mom, freaking out. Thankfully, she picked up. I asked her what was going on, where the heck everyone had gone, and she casually told me they'd taken a little trip for the week. Just like that. Then she asked me to stay behind and keep an eye on the house. Now I'm on summer break, so technically I didn't have school or anywhere to be. But I was not okay with being left behind like some kind of house sitter. I told her straight up, I wasn't okay with this. If she wanted someone to watch the house that badly, maybe she should have looked into better home security, instead of pulling this stunt on me. What really got to me wasn't just the request, it was the fact that they didn't even tell me. They left me behind like I didn't matter. No heads up, no discussion, just gone. If they had asked, honestly, I might have said yes. I mean, what high school guy wouldn't love having a whole house to himself for a few days? I probably would have invited a couple friends over and had a blast. But the way they did it? It just felt awful. And to make things worse, I didn't even feel like calling anyone over. I wasn't on good terms with my friends, and between that and what my mom did, I was in a pretty bad place emotionally. I ended up telling her she owed me an apology, that she couldn't just leave without saying anything, even if Rick didn't want to talk to me. The least they could have done was give me a heads up before hitting the road. Waking up to an empty house like that? It really messed with me. And you know what she said? That I was overreacting. That I needed to get over it. Then she hung up on me. Just like that. I tried calling her again, but she didn't pick up. Instead, she texted me, saying she was on her trip and didn't want to be disturbed. She said she'd talk to me when they got to the hotel. That was the final straw. I was done. I didn't even care that the house would be empty, I just wanted out. I tried to call her again to let her know I was leaving, but all my calls went straight to voicemail. So I locked up the place, left the key under the potted plant, same place she usually hides it, and left. I went straight to my dad's place. When I showed up, he was surprised to see me. He thought I'd be gone for at least another week, since I was supposed to be with my mom till the end of the month. But I was done pretending. I sat down and told him everything. I told him how Rick had been treating me like a ghost for years, how he acted like I wasn't even in the room, how he'd even gotten his kids to do the same. I said I felt like I must have done something wrong, but I had no idea what. And how my mom just kept brushing it off, saying Rick had his personal reasons, but never once telling me what they were. I told him I'd kept quiet all this time because I wanted to keep the peace. Because my mom always reminded me of all the sacrifices she'd made for me and made me feel like I owed her this. Like I should just suck it up and accept being treated like a stranger in my own home. But I couldn't take it anymore. It was eating me up inside. So I told my dad everything. Because he deserved to know. And because maybe, just maybe, he'd be able to do something about it. I was exhausted. I hadn't done anything wrong, and yet I was being treated like an outcast. All I'd ever done was try to be kind, respectful, and compassionate to people, even when they clearly didn't care about me. And then I told him about what my mom did, how she left me home alone without saying a word, how she expected me to just take care of the house while she, Rick, and his kids went off on a little trip. Like I was the help. Like I didn't matter. But honestly, the worst part wasn't even that they left me behind. What really got to me was that my mom didn't think it was important enough to even tell me about it. When I tried to call her, she just kept declining the calls like I wasn't worth the time. Like I didn't even matter to her. That's when I realized she had seriously crossed a line. I couldn't deal with it anymore. After I finished telling my dad everything, I broke down. I hadn't even realized just how much this had all been weighing on me over the past couple of years until I let it all out. Things used to be normal between me and my mom. We had a pretty good relationship. But once Rick came into the picture, everything shifted. Suddenly, I felt like I didn't matter to her anymore. Like I was just a side character in her new life. It was a hard pill to swallow. After hearing me out, my dad didn't say much, just one thing. "Don't worry, son. I've got this now." I could see he was mad, but he didn't let it show too much around me. He just said he was glad I finally told him the truth. That it was off my chest now. Then he told me I'd be staying with him, and if I ever wanted to go back to my mom's, that was my choice, but he definitely wouldn't recommend it. So I stayed with him. I didn't call my mom after that, and funny enough, she didn't call me either. Not once. You'd think at the very least she'd check in on her own kid, the one she left at home completely alone while she went off on vacation with her new family. I was hurt, no lie. But after I'd opened up to my dad, I actually felt a little lighter. I made a decision that I wasn't going to let it keep eating me alive. For 5 straight days, nothing. Then finally she called. I figured maybe she'd ask how I was doing. Nope. She was screaming. Full on yelling like I'd set the house on fire. Took me a second to realize what was going on. Apparently, the house had been robbed while they were gone. Stuff like the TV and other expensive things were stolen. And somehow she thought all of it was my fault. I told her I had tried to call her to say I was leaving. I wanted to let her know I was going to my dad's. But she ignored every call. After she finished yelling, I tried to explain how I felt. I told her straight, I wasn't okay with how she'd been treating me. I reminded her I'd called multiple times and she hadn't picked up. That's when she hit me with, "You could have just texted." Sure, fair point. But I told her I was mad. I didn't text on purpose. I figured she knew I was angry. I thought she'd get the message when I stopped calling. We got into a huge fight over it. She said I should have stayed in the house no matter how upset I was because it was about safety and she was depending on me. But I never agreed to that in the first place. I told her clearly I wasn't okay with staying alone. I tried to let her know I was leaving and she ignored me. So whatever happened after that? That's on her. She was facing the consequences of her own choices, not mine. But somehow I still ended up being the bad guy. Even Rick, the man who hadn't said a single word to me in years, suddenly found his voice just to scream at me and blame me for everything. He said some stuff that really threw me off. Claimed he'd always known I'd be the downfall of their family. What the hell is that even supposed to mean? We barely ever spoke. How do you decide someone's going to destroy your life when you've never even talked to them? Anyway, now my parents are fighting. My dad thinks all of this is my mom's fault and so do I. But she's pointing the finger at me. She's even demanding that my dad pay for the stuff that got stolen because apparently, if he's going to defend me, he should pay the price too. I honestly don't know what to do now. She says she'll only let it go if I apologize to her and Rick and their family. But I don't want to do that. I haven't done anything wrong. At the same time, I don't want her bothering my dad over this anymore. It's tearing everything apart. Am I really the one in the wrong for leaving that house and going to stay with my dad after she and Rick bailed without even telling me? Update 1. So it's been 2 weeks since the whole thing went down. And now a lot of stuff has come to light. Turns out I finally figured out why Rick hates me so much. Back when they first started dating, Rick apparently asked my mom if he could move in and bring his mom with him. She was in bad health and needed support. Rick said she already had a full-time nurse and just needed some emotional company. But my mom said no, said it was too soon to be moving in together, especially with his sick mother. Now here's where things got twisted. Instead of being honest with him, my mom blamed it all on me. This was like 3 months into their relationship. They were starting to get serious, though personally, I think that was way too fast. Still, it was her life, not mine. But she told Rick that she was fine with him and his kids moving in, but she wasn't sure it was a good idea because of me. She made me sound like some kind of delinquent kid. Said she dated guys before, but they all left because I had scared them off. Said I was so protective of her and wanted to get my parents back together so badly that I'd chased away anyone new. She even said I'd called his mom a useless burden and that I had threatened to make her life miserable if she moved in with us. None of that is true. Not even close. I would never say something like that. That's just not who I am. I know how cruel and insensitive that would be. And apparently she also told Rick I referred to his kids as evil little goblins who were going to wreck our family. I can't even begin to describe how messed up that is. I never said any of those things. Not once. Turns out, the reason Rick completely cut me off was because of those lies my mom told. He genuinely believed I was the one who didn't want anything to do with him or his family. Even though I'd always been polite and kept things normal, he thought I was this troublemaker because that's what she told him. I only found all this out a couple of days ago. Rick had been pushing my mom to cut me off completely, to disown me. He thought I was beyond saving. That's when she finally had no choice but to come clean. She admitted she'd made the whole thing up. Now they're living apart because Rick couldn't believe he'd spent years treating me like garbage based on lies my mom had told, just because she didn't have the guts to be honest. All this time it was her who didn't want his sick mother living with us. Not me. In an email Rick sent me, he said if my mom had just told him the truth back then, that she didn't have the capacity to care for someone sick, he would have worked it out with his sister. They could have taken turns caring for their mom. But instead, she pinned it all on me. She fed him this twisted version of reality and he believed it. Rick apologized in that email for everything, how he treated me, how things turned out, and asked if I could forgive him. I haven't replied yet. Honestly, I don't even know how to process all of this. I just want to clear my head and take a break from all the chaos. So that's the truth about why he treated me like that for so long. And the worst part? My mom let it happen. She let him ignore me, treat me like I was nothing, and it worked out perfectly for her. She told him I was always in trouble at school, constantly acting out. And because he trusted her, he never even questioned it. He didn't know I was just a regular kid trying to get by. Since we never talked, he never got to find out the truth. Honestly, my mom's a messed up person. No other way to put it. Now, my dad is filing for full custody. After we found all this out, he decided enough was enough. My mom says she loves us and wanted us all to be one happy family. But that's not how it works. You don't get to lie, manipulate, and destroy people and then cry about wanting a happy ending. Update 2. It's not just my dad going to court. Rick's filing for divorce too. I found out because my mom started spamming my dad's phone, begging him to talk to Rick, to fix everything. She said she can't live without all of us. I don't even know what she expects from us at this point. After everything she did, after how she allowed me to be treated, how she lied to Rick for years, I don't know how she thinks we're supposed to just forgive and move on. She didn't just lie, she let me suffer because of those lies. For years. I really hope no one ever has to go through something like this, especially not because of their own mother. I spent so long wondering what I'd done wrong. Why her husband and his kids hated me. I blame myself. Meanwhile, she was just out there protecting her own image and letting me rot. I've blocked her everywhere. I don't want to hear from her again. For years I let it slide because I loved her. Because I wanted her to be happy. But it's clear now she never felt the same way about me. She only cared about herself. Both of us made her happiness a priority. But that's over now. Update 3. It's official. Rick has filed for divorce. That's all anyone in the family seems to be talking about. Even some of our parents' mutual friends are buzzing about it. My mom, well, she's handling it in the weirdest way. Posting sad quotes on Twitter and Instagram. My cousins keep sending me screenshots. I don't know what she's hoping to achieve with that, but it's not going to fix anything. She made her bed, now she's got to lie in it. Update 4. My dad has full custody now. The case dragged on for a few months thanks to my mom's lawyer, but in the end we had all the evidence. What she did to me, how she manipulated the truth, it all came out. With the divorce and everything else piling up on her, she didn't stand a chance. Now that my dad is the custodial parent, I don't have to go to my mom's house unless I want to. She has visitation rights, sure, but honestly, I don't see the point. I don't want to talk to her. I'm living with my dad now and things are good. I've patched things up with my friends and for the first time in a long time, I'm actually looking forward to the future.